Ringside Rumble Radio here on Spreaker.com, free on iTunes, and now iHeartRadio. Get your triple dose of Ringside Rumble Radio. Anthony the Antman alongside Keith Logan, the Loganator. And if you haven't drank that Ringside Rumble juice,
is it juice or is it Kool-Aid?
It could be Kool-Aid too. I like Kool-Aid. I'll go with Kool-Aid.
What's your favorite Kool-Aid flavor growing up?
I gotta go with the regular fruit punch or cherry or whatever the red one was.
I was a big cherry one. Not triple dose. I like a triple threat.
Well, I say, okay, a triple. All right, I like that now. Triple threat. Spreaker.com, iTunes, iHeartRadio. We're building, man. We're building. These are just building blocks of what we want. Ringside Rumble, where we want to take it. Loganator, big week, second week of the new era. And it looks like Raw wins again. But... however, I know to your displeasure, you've said about the draft how you didn't want Raw and SmackDown to interchange, to intertwine. It has done that, but it's been good. Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, they've been going at it with each other. Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere on Monday Night Raw. Lesnar last night does the F5. But the big story to me is how in the world... and I talked about this on Facebook. I said we would talk about this. How in the world is Brock Lesnar not suspended right now?
Because he's a part-time wrestler. And he's Brock Lesnar.
Roman Reigns had to sit out for 30 days. Even if Brock Lesnar, from the time they talked about it, was suspended, he'd be back in time for SummerSlam.
Well,
and this is legit steroids.
How do we know it's legit? It could have been
steroids. The UFC reports, the USADA reports said that he took the steroids.
I mean, I heard reports that it was something with asthma. You take steroids for asthma sometimes. So, I mean, those aren't the same steroids that are taken to juice up, so to speak. So why not suspend him? He doesn't deserve it right now.
It was made on a national level, though, because he used it to enhance himself in his UFC fight, which was a major deal because the WWE allowed him to go in there and fight in the octagon, and then come back for SummerSlam. And if you saw Brock Lesnar, he looked ripped. He's never looked so good. He even looks good right now. He looks a lot thinner, a lot more ripped in the abs and the arms, and just poor Mark Hunt, who has been really taking it to the UFC for not suspending him or not even taking away his money. But I think he should be suspended, even if he comes back in time. I know they were been building this Randy Orton fight since the UFC card because we saw the commercials and the promos for it during the UFC card. But he should not come back until SummerSlam.
First of all, right now, Brock Lesnar is getting paid by the WWE regardless if he shows up or not. So if you're paying him X, Y, and Z, the amount that you're paying him, you're not paying other superstars that much money. So, I mean, yes, it's more than we're making right now, or Joe Schmo on the street making, but the fact is, he's your meal ticket right now. He's so over with the fans. He's so over with people who aren't even fans. You say the word Brock Lesnar and people are like, I know that guy. I've heard of him before. So why wouldn't you have him on the biggest stage and build up for SummerSlam? I mean, it kind of has gone away. Nobody's really said anything else about it. I mean, there's been times where Randy Orton, who's been suspended time after time again, and he hasn't been let go by the company. There's other guys, I'm sure Triple H.
That's the thing, though. He's been suspended.
But there's other guys who have not been suspended. I'm sure Triple H isn't no saint.
However, has there ever been a story coming out that Triple H did these things?
No.
It's a USADA story already.
I'm just saying, he's your meal ticket, and you're paying him X, Y, and Z, and you only have him on a part-time basis. And I'm sure the way his contract is drawn out is I'm only on this Monday Night Raw for SummerSlam, I'm on the second for SmackDown, and maybe one more after that. Are you going to have a guy who is suspended and then miss out on building up a storyline? I can't see it.
You can't build a story without Brock Lesnar's presence. They do it with The Undertaker for most of the time.
All I'm saying is you're paying this money for this guy for Raw and SmackDown for limited usage, and it's guaranteed money, where other contracts, there's loopholes. But the way Brock Lesnar came in and said, listen, you want me here? I want guaranteed money. And
isn't that the problem, though? He's not suspended, and he's also making the money, whereas a Roman Reigns gets suspended 1 month, and he's not getting paid for it.
True.
Doesn't that
then again, it's Brock Lesnar who is...
That's the problem.
I guess you could
That's
say...
That's the problem for the rest of the roster. Wouldn't that bother you if you're on the roster and you get suspended for something, and maybe it's not even that big. Maybe it's something small. But you get suspended, Roman Reigns is getting suspended, your top superstars are getting suspended, and Brock Lesnar can do whatever he wants. Of course he doesn't care about the locker room. He doesn't care about any of those guys there. I'm pretty sure he has his own private locker room where he goes into. He doesn't interact with anybody because you can just tell by the person he is, his reaction. Even when he did his press conferences with the UFC, he cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's making money.
Oh, yeah.
But wouldn't that bother you as a superstar not to have to deal with a guy like this? Even I was watching on TMZ when they were reporting about him going into this match. And they talked to Seth Rollins and then they talked to Dolph Ziggler. And these guys don't even want to talk about Brock Lesnar.
I mean, at the end of the day, Vince McMahon wants it. He's making money. He's selling merchandise. He's selling tickets. People want to see Brock Lesnar. So,
do you think if maybe they would take a different step if other legends were available, like if The Rock was available, if Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't hurt and couldn't wrestle anymore, if Shawn Michaels wanted to come back and wrestle, do you think such an emphasis on bringing back Brock Lesnar all the time would be there?
Yes, because he has been in the UFC and he's been in WWE, so that kind of builds him up to be this monster of a human being, whereas you have The Rock, who's now a superstar on Hollywood. He comes back at a WrestleMania and he ends up hurting himself, breaking like 3 or 4 ribs, and he's out for 6 months or so. I'm sorry, but I don't want to see Rock in a main event at WrestleMania. I'd rather see somebody who can actually go the distance in the match and not have to be carried, and that person is Brock Lesnar. You want to bring Shawn Michaels back, he can hardly even move. When he had that WrestleMania with DX, he came out, did one little thing, and then just walked to the back like, oh,
well,
okay.
That's why I'm saying
Stone Cold is also overweight.
That's why such an emphasis is on bringing back Lesnar, because these other guys can't come back.
Of course. I mean, you had Sting, who was building up, and then he got hurt real bad.
That wasn't on Sting, though.
No, that's not on Sting at all.
I mean, and
it was a freak accident.
And it's crazy to me that even after that bump, that Seth Rollins is still allowed to do that move.
Yeah, that is true.
He's still allowed to do. That's worse than the
curb.
That's worse than the curb stomp, and he's still allowed to do it.
Because if you look at the curb stomp, you're really not on the neck. You're kind of on the vertebrae of the back type of deal, and you're just kind of jumping up, and they're going down as you're going up and putting your foot on it. It's not like you're really putting all your weight on that person's body. So, yeah, I can't understand why that's still a bad move.
You could still, and going back to Brock Lesnar, you can still build this story while he's sitting out. And you know why? It's because of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman comes in here and does what he does best, and he did it on Monday Night Raw, where he throws another great promo. And you can do that without having Brock Lesnar come in, because Brock Lesnar comes in and he just stands there while Paul Heyman does his stuff.
Yeah, but you can't build it up where they actually hate each other like how they did with The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar.
But that's the thing, though. Why should Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar hate each other? They've never fought each other. Undertaker and Brock Lesnar had beef even before Brock Lesnar broke the streak. This was going back to like the early 2000s, and even in UFC when The Undertaker showed up and they had that little confrontation.
Well, it seems like Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton don't like each other now. It seems like there's some kind of beef between them, so why wouldn't you continue it? Especially now that they're both on separate shows, and it's kind of like almost like bragging rights, almost like, oh, well, I'm on SmackDown, you're on Raw, but you can even take it a little step further. And Randy Orton did when he was talking about, when he was on Miz TV, when he was like, oh, well, I'm going to beat him without using whatever the heck I got to use. So...
Well, I mean, there's going to be beef there after that comment at Battleground.
Plus,
when
WWE
he said no enhancements needed.
They love using current events, and this is a current event, so it works perfectly.
The more realism, the better.
Of course. So why not? Why would you suspend it?
So him throwing that jab, that should not. Brock Lesnar should not take that to heart. I mean, it's part of the story. Mm-hmm. It's going to enhance it.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. I do feel bad for Orton coming back from an injury and having to face Brock Lesnar, who hurts people. Even in the WWE, he's been known to hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you see the thing with Paul Heyman talking about the streak? There was a video online about the streak, and he was with a whole group of people. I'm not sure what the event was, but he's talking about, what if I told you this conspiracy that nobody knew? Brock Lesnar went out that night wanting to hurt The Undertaker and wanting to really put it to him and count it 1, 2, 3. And people were just like, oh, like thinking. I mean, could it happen? We don't know. But honestly, I don't think Paul Heyman would be giving the truth about what goes on behind the scenes.
This is going on almost 3 years ago. I don't care about the streak anymore.
But people do. Unfortunately, people still do. They're still talking about it to this day.
It's over with already.
I understand it's over with.
In reality, it makes sense. If you look back to all the people who fought The Undertaker, mm-hmm. It makes sense that it'd be Brock Lesnar to beat him. Even though we were all in awe and upset about it, doesn't it make sense that Brock Lesnar is the one to beat The Undertaker? Well, is the one in 21-1 at the time?
First of all, not everybody is upset about that. I was happy about that when it happened. I thought the perfect person to do that was Brock Lesnar. I mean, if they waited a couple of years earlier when Kane was on this hot streak, I would have had Kane do that and have him beat his brother and end the streak when he was the monster, the Big Red Machine, not when he was the bald-headed guy who didn't know if he was Kane or Corporate Kane or some guy off the street. He didn't know who the heck he was, putting a battery charger to Shane McMahon type of deal in his you-know-whats. But Brock Lesnar was probably the best option, and I was so happy when that happened because he's just a beast. And whether you like him or you don't, he's not going away anytime soon. He is the part-time face of the company. He sells merchandise. He knows he's a good businessman because he knows how to work Vince McMahon. He knows how to work Dana White, and he gets what he wants. And at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar is the one making out like a bandit, and people are going to be jealous. They're going to hate him, but you know what? As he always would say, I don't care.
And that's true. We said it earlier. He really doesn't care about, I think, anyone on that roster. Doesn't care about anyone, and that's just the Brock Lesnar style. He's always been like that. Maybe the
legends. I feel if there are any legends that are in the back, like maybe the Big Show, maybe like Mark Henry, maybe he has close ties with them. But other than that, maybe Kane. Other than that, I don't really see it. He doesn't seem to me like the type of guy that goes out, hangs out with the boys, has a bunch of beers, and goes crazy. I mean, there was that one incident on that plane. Remember the plane?
Perfect. Yep.
Plane ride from hell. And it seems like after that whole thing happened, he kind of toned himself down a bit. He got married Sable, bought a huge farm in the middle of nowhere in Canada. Kids. So, yeah. So he's kind of keeps to himself, does what he wants to do, makes a ton of money, goes home, is a farmer, and hangs out with Sable and his kids.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I do like what I saw on Monday and Tuesday. Mm-hmm. But just in general, just getting the feel for the locker room and back there, I do think that there should have been some sort of suspension being laid on Brock Lesnar. But if he's going to be here,